Buenos dias, everybody. Great and beautiful morning. Yours truly here again, back for another video. And just want to apologize for those outbursts in the last video on the close occurrences on my nephew being bullied. But oh well, okay. I hope that helps y'all understand and realize that bullying is everywhere, and without proper teachings at home, through the word, through Yahweh's word, we can never come to that perfection, especially if you are of a Christian family and have been taught and teach your children that Yahweh's laws have been done away with. Okay, I know maybe somewhere along every other viewer on here, you have probably told your kids the same thing, or have told your friends the same thing, that kids are kids and no matter what, they're going to do whatever they want. That's not proper upbringing at all. In lieu of all these kinds of teachings, I was telling I was telling a friend of mine that another friend of mine had told me, well, why did you try raising a kid? I would do a lot better job. Believe me, I would. Okay. Like I told my friend, I had told her, I said, I wouldn't buy my kids play guns, play grenades, let them play violent video games, let them watch violent movies, like the ones I've seen. Because even then, most of the movies today, all they have on there to promote is violence, sex, drugs, adulteries, fornications, rapes, murders. That's not proper upbringing for your kids at all. But hey, I mean, if you all wholeheartedly believe that those laws are done away with, then anyways. So what I'm gonna cover now has somewhat to do with what I wanna what I want to talk about today. I stayed in from walking. Yesterday I did my 8 miles again. My shins a little bit sore. I know I told myself I wasn't going to do it again, but I only walked like 2 days last week. And yeah, so I had to I ate too much last week. I didn't do anything this weekend, like party on yesterday or the day before for Easter. Y'all know I don't celebrate those days. So but just imagine, people, how much money you could save from buying steaks and chicken and sausages and bacon wrap jalapenos or whatever it is y'all make. I mean, I'm not working, but my mom, per se, since this is where I am staying, she didn't have to go out and buy nothing. So it's obvious that if a lot of people didn't do it, it's no big deal. See, it's not sin if you don't celebrate Easter anyways. So don't worry about it, people. Don't worry if you didn't get, you didn't have, if you didn't buy your kids Easter eggs and none of that stuff. It's no big deal. Oh, excuse me. I slept great last night. I got home yesterday around 9:20. I took off like at 6 o'clock. It took me about those 3.5 hours to walk around my hometown. And even though I was aching in pain, I still didn't take my meds. I could have, but I don't want to get used to the fact that I got plenty of muscle relaxers. It's no bueno. All right. So, getting to the point. I'm going to start off from a scripture here in Matthew 24:14. Oh man, hope I don't be yawning through the whole video. Okay. In Matthew 24:14 is a verse, and let me get my other Bible real quick. I knew I should have had these on me, but anyways, I'll read it out of the ever popular King James. Okay, I'll read it out of here first. I was telling myself while I was walking, what could I cover next? And this one just popped into my head. It says in the King James, Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Give me a second. Okay. And then shall the end come. Out of the Jehovah's Witness, this is a very cool Bible. It's nice and small. We'll read, this is the New Translation. Matthew 24:14 says, and this good news of the kingdom will be preached in all the inhabited earth for a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. All right, they all say the same thing. Good news, gospel, and in this case, in the restored version, it says, and this message of the kingdom will be preached to all the world by the one who bears witness to all nations, and then the end will come. Okay, so who is to preach this message? Gospel, good news, glad tidings, since they're all the same thing. Okay, who is going to bring this as a witness to the nations, like it says, witness to all nations? If you are part of that commission that teaches and has been taught and are teaching others that the laws are done away with, then your church, your pastor or prophet or preacher cannot be the one who proclaims this message as a witness to all nations. Okay, in this message, in this glad tidings, in this good news or gospel, there is not a single scripture anywhere that says that the laws of our Father were done away with. Cheers. But again, if you as a preacher or if you're a prophet and are teaching others that that old covenant was done away with and that you no longer have to keep the laws of our Father, then you are not proclaiming the message, as it were, to the nations. Okay, we must remember, people, in the book of Jude and elsewhere is mentioned the one true faith. There are a lot of faiths out there: Catholic, Coptic Christians, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and anybody else I might have left out. But all in all, Christendom or churchianity, the way my pastor says it. Okay. I have actually covered this more than enough times, and if you're still not catching on as to who might be the one who bears witness or who is putting out this message, allow me to reiterate and rephrase and remind you of who it is that is actually putting out this message. Okay, because of all the translations, we have different words or wording for the message. Okay, the message, and I'll put it on my screen, the message is the gospel, is the good news, is the glad tidings, and whatever else. Okay, but because of the translations, I'll put those four: message, glad tidings, good news, and gospel. They're all in one. Okay, all right, let us go over to Romans 1:16, I believe. Just having a slow morning. Romans 1:16 says, for I am not ashamed of the message, for it is the strength of Yahweh unto life everlasting for everyone who believes, to the Jew and also to the Greek, or to the Yadai first and also to the Greek, or in your case, in the King James, it might read to the Jew first and to the Gentile. Okay. Notice again, I am not ashamed of the message, for it is the strength of Yahweh. Okay. What did I cover a few videos back of what the Eliah message is, or the Elijah message, right? If you go back to Malachi 4, chapter 5, it says, "Behold, I will send Eliah, the law and the prophets, which is the strength of Yahweh, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahweh." It's telling us here, and I'll put it on the screen, Eli means strength, and Yah is the short syllabic form of the name of Yahweh, the strength of Yahweh, right? Now we go back to Matthew chapter 11, verse 13. It says, "For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if you are willing to accept it, this is the strength of Yahweh, which was to come." Let's see what it says in the King James. Excuse me. Matthew 11, verse 13 says, "For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John, and if you will receive it, this is Elias, which was to come." I should say Elijah, not Elias. And in the New Translation says, "For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John, and if you are willing to accept it, he is the Elijah or Elijah who was to come." Okay, Elijah, Eliah. Okay, that is why a lot of people today still have a misunderstanding or a confusion as to who or what the Elijah ministry is all about. But because they only rely on the ever popular or ever popular versions per se, ever popular translations, in this case the King James, and since they think there's all these messages, faiths, I mean, that tells you they will never find it. Okay, but when you go back to the proper Hebrew pronunciations and or spellings, you get to find out exactly what these words mean. And I'm giving you scriptures here. Okay, John the Baptist did fulfill the Elijah ministry the first time. We must remember that prophecy is dual. Okay, all right, so the law and the prophets is the strength of Yahweh, which was to come. Okay, Yahweh did not say he would reincarnate Elijah the prophet or send us the actual Elijah the prophet. Okay, y'all must remember, people, that it has been allotted to man to die once or live once, and that's it. Okay, and I've covered to y'all more than 2-3 times that Elijah was not taken up into heaven. He was taken somewhere else. I read that to you in 2 Chronicles. All right, so now we're getting an understanding as to what this message is. Okay, it is the law and the prophets. And the law and the prophets are, according to Isaiah 8:20, go over to Isaiah 8:20. I think I was half asleep when I took off walking yesterday. I took off at 6 o'clock and I was just kind of like, all right. Isaiah 8:20 says, "To the law and to the prophecy," or the prophets, "if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them." Okay. Again, as I stated, I know, and I was having a discussion with a guy a few weeks back, and he pretty much stopped texting me on my YouTube channel. It wasn't on my YouTube channel where I subscribe to all these prophetical videos and whatever. But he insisted, he was a Mormon, because he insisted that the Mormons were the modern day Kohans or Kahans, the priesthood of Aaron. I said, well, yeah, everybody is. I must remember that Aaron was the one that was preaching idolatry, which is God worship. Okay, all right. So, who do you know for a fact, people out there in your churches and assemblies, that are teaching the law and the prophets and in Yahweh's name? Probably not any. Okay, The only one that I know for a fact that does this is the house of Yahweh. I'll read Matthew 24:14 again. And this message of the kingdom will be preached to all the world by the one who bears witness to all nations, and then the end will come. I read to y'all in the prophecies and the prophets. If I can find it. In the book of Zechariah, chapter 4. Notice in Zechariah chapter 4 is speaking about the two witnesses, the two olive trees or the two olive branches. Okay. In verse 14 it says, Zechariah 4:14 says, then he said, these are the two anointed ones who stand for the supreme ruler of the whole earth. Okay. And that is a parallel prophecy to the two witnesses in Revelation 11. Let's see. Revelation 11 verse 4 says, these are as it were the two olive trees, and as it were the two lamps of the seven lamp lampstand, ministering for the Father in the earth. Okay, so only these two witnesses can proclaim the message, the every word of Yahweh, like Yeshua stated in Matthew 4:4, quoting Deuteronomy 8:3, the every word of Yahweh. Again, if you are part of that Christian, Coptic, Catholic religion proclaiming those laws were done away with, you are not part of this ministry. Okay, you are part of the Nimrod rebelling system that goes against the name of Yahweh, the name of Yeshua, and Yahweh's laws and the prophecies. Okay, that's just a fact. Okay, but notice also in Revelation 11 about these two witnesses. That says in verse 5, 11:5, Revelation 11:5. And if any among them determines in his mind to commit sin, the every word of Yahweh, the every word, right? Matthew 4:4, man does not live on bread alone, but by the every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh. Again, Yeshua was quoting Deuteronomy 8:3 right there. Okay, proceeds out of the mouth of the spokesman of them, and he devours their enemies. And if any among them should continue to commit sin, in this manner is it binding for him to be destroyed. Okay, so we have in the Old Testament, right? We have this guy, a prophet of Yahweh, a real prophet of Yahweh, who ministered for Yahweh. We actually had two, right? Moshe and Aaron, or Aaron. Okay. Let's see if I can find it. Just said I'm still asleep, but all right. When Moshe was around, he had a double witness with Aaron. Okay, there were two witnesses. Aaron was Moshe's prophet, and it was Moshe who was the one that was ministering for Yahweh. Okay, he was the one that gave, as a witness, the message or the words of the true faith to the Israelites. Okay, to stay away from idolatry, to stay away from defiled meats and all this kind of stuff. Okay, but in this same message, he gave them, the children of Israel, and he gave us for us today, because like Yeshua said, had you believed Moshe, right, you would have believed me. He says, Moshe, giving us Yahweh's words in Deuteronomy 30 verse 15 says, see, I have set before you this day life by righteousness, and death and destruction, and that I command you this day to love Yahweh your Father by walking in all his ways, by keeping his laws, his statutes, and his judgments, so that you may live and multiply, and so Yahweh your Father may bless you in the land you are crossing over to possess. But if your heart turns away and you are not obedient, and you are drawn away to submit to God's Elohim, to worship them by serving them, I declare to you this day that you will surely perish. You will not prolong your days in the land which you cross over the Jordan to possess. Notice here in verse 19, I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you this day that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. And then in italics, because it was added, it says, because you are free agents to make your own choice between righteousness and evil. Therefore, choose life so both you and your children may live. We do. We have a right to choose, people. Nobody is forced to believe anything they don't want to believe. Okay, I've said it to you guys and gals more than enough times in these videos. So you may love Yahweh your Father by listening to him and then obeying him. Hold fast to him, for he is your life. He will also give you many years in the land he vowed to give to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, there you go, people. Yahweh himself has set two witnesses against us. Okay, so you're telling me that your Christ came and did away with these laws? Oh, no. No, people. Y'all better start reading your Bible now, because we are in the last days and it might be too late. Okay. Notice those two witnesses, heaven and earth, in chapter 5 of Matthew. Matthew 5. Notice Matthew. I'll start from Matthew 5:17. These are the Messiah's words. These are the words that Yahweh gave him to say to us. Do not even think that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I have not come to destroy them, but to establish them. I know the King James says, well, mine doesn't say that. Mine says fulfill. Yeah. Our Messiah could have only fulfilled the prophecies about him. Okay. He couldn't fulfill the prophecies of the virgin birth. He couldn't fulfill the prophecies as the voice in the wilderness, even though he still was a voice in the wilderness. But that one was actually speaking of John. Okay. And even though he was born of a virgin birth, that prophecy was still pertaining to Mary or Miriam. Okay. But he cannot keep the laws for us. That is clearly written in Ezekiel chapter 18. The Father will not be held responsible for the actions of the Son, nor will the Son be held accountable for the righteousness of the Father, and so on. Okay. But notice here in verse 18. Oh, excuse me. For truly I say to you, unless heaven and earth passes away, one yod, the smallest of the letters, will in no way pass from the law until all things are perfected. There you go. Laws and the prophecies have not been done away with, people, because the earth and the heavens are still here, right? Obviously. Okay. All right. So in this message, people, is the law and the prophecies. And if you're not being taught those things, you are in the darkness. You are not in the light. You are like mushrooms being fed all kinds of crap. You're never going to bring forth the righteous fruit that our Father wants from us, because you do not have his word in you. I think the Messiah said that somewhere. Okay. But also notice in Romans, let's go over to Romans. There's another verse there I like very much so. It speaks volumes. Okay. Notice in Romans 1:18. For the wrath of Yahweh is revealed from heaven against all unholiness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. We know this to be a fact. We know this because there's a lot of people out there that I know I have heard and have come in contact with that have proclaimed this. Well, the laws are not, they were done away with. That is unrighteousness. Okay. Suppressing Yahweh's truth, the law and the prophets with unrighteousness, is not having any laws and not believing in the prophecies. How are you going to be a believer if you do not alone believe in the prophecies, let alone, like we just read, to love Yahweh and hold fast to him and serve him and be obedient. You can't, right? If there's no laws. Okay. But the Apostle Shaw also stated here in Romans, he said, yes, he says, where there is no law, there is no sin. Okay. So if there's no law for me to do this, then that's not a sin. Or if I did it to my neighbor, of course, I will never do it, because it's still a sin, even though it does not lead to death, like Paul also said. There is no biblical law per se if I were to go outside and spill my hot coffee on my brother-in-law. It's wrong, it's still a sin, but it does not lead to death. I will never do those things. That's just not cool. Okay. But there is still sin, the effect of sin throughout what's called the New Testament, because in 1 John 3:4, it says that whoever commits sin transgresses also the law. For transgression, sin is a transgression of the law. And Romans 6:23 says that the wages for sin is death, right? So obviously, the curse, people, for sin is still binding. Praise Yahweh, right? Okay. But like I stated, people, in other videos, there was never any need for sacrificing of animals. These things were instituted through a Levitical priesthood law 430 years after the original covenant was ratified with Abraham. Okay. It was instituted for the sins of mankind, but like we read also in Hebrews 10 and 11, that only left one in remembrance that he was a sinner. Okay. But that's why that was instituted. Okay. Don't let your preachers tell you otherwise. Sure, yes, while the Messiah was here, he instituted that thing that's called reconciliation for mankind. But per se, he instituted it then, but also so that it has like this generational effect for everybody. But it still does not mean that those laws were done away with. Because I know there's been a few people who have probably just stuck to that one scripture, say, well, it says here, he already made reconciliation. No, he doesn't say he already made it. Okay, he already made it, but to the fact to where we are still to work out our own salvation through the keeping of Yahweh's laws. Okay, so again, people, if your teachings have led you to not follow the laws of our Father, then you are not part of this commission. You are not part of this calling out. If you're, in other words, if you're still practicing Easter, if you were out there cooking out and drinking and, breaking cascarones, and lying to your kids about the Easter bunny and that kind of stuff. I mean, Moshe at least offered willingly to Yahweh sin offerings, I believe it was, for the ignorance of their kids, of his kids. Okay. So, like I said, I didn't participate. My friends told me, what are you going to do? Nothing. Stay home, watch TV, which what I did anyways. But for my major walk yesterday in the morning, I had a headache all day anyways. I wasn't going to do anything. I just stayed here watching novelas with my mom, watching movies, watching videos on my phone, playing Words with Friends 2. That's about it. Stuffing my face with food and junk food. Well, maybe not too much junk food, right? But anyways, okay. So there are a lot of messages being proclaimed today, people, because we have, for a scriptural and a prophetical fact, that there have arisen many false prophets. So for all these false prophets, you have all these false messages, beginning with using the true and correct name, okay, and the true and correct name of our Messiah and his teachings. And people have also said, why I only follow the teachings of the Messiah. He told us to keep the laws. Okay. All right. So in this message, again, is stated the strength of Yahweh, which are the law and the prophets, which Malachi prophesied of and Yeshua quoted in Matthew 11:13-15. In verse 15, he even stated, he who has ears, let him hear. So not everybody's going to understand that, for obvious reasons. Okay. Let me see where else. Let me see where else. So yeah, it is only these two witnesses that proclaim in Yahweh's name. These two witnesses who were Yisrael and Jacob, as are the names mentioned in Isaiah 44. These are the two witnesses, both Levites, as they proclaim, just as Moshe and Aaron were. Okay, Aaron died, Moshe was left behind. John the Baptist died, Yeshua was left behind, or so he could advance. And then the witness Jacob passed away, and Hawkins was left alive, but then eventually, he's asleep in the earth. He passed away. Okay, but so that we also get this other pattern fulfilled, that the children of Israel still went forward without Moshe. So in this case, how is it worded in the prophecies? The remaining tribes of Israel, or Israel, are still left behind, but they will move on without him. Okay, see, people, these patterns are there, and let me tell y'all something. I've only been given in a booklet those very few patterns, but I've, through my studying and through Yahweh's revelation, have put the rest of those patterns together. Okay, I can't see anybody else who is doing this kind of stuff. Okay. When I read to y'all in Isaiah 44 about how they will spring up among the watercourses, if you look it up in the concordance, does actually mean Abilene. Okay. Henry, let me give you another one. I believe the Jehovah's Witnesses have their main temple up in Bethel, New York. Bethel means house of God, automatically. The Assemblies of Yahweh through the late Mr. Jacob Omeyer is in Bethel, Pennsylvania. Bethel, house of God. The Church of God through Mr. Armstrong, Pasadena. I haven't looked up that word, but I don't know what it means. It doesn't have, as far as I can tell, any significance. Let's look it up real quick. It just means, Pasadena etymology literally means valley in the Ojibwa or Chippewa Indian language, but it has been interpreted to mean crown of the valley and key of the valley. What Native Americans lived in Pasadena? The Hachamog-Na tribe. At the time of the European contact, the inhabitants of Pasadena and surrounding areas were members of the Native American Indians, Hachamog-Na tribe, a branch of the Tongva Nation. They spoke the Tongva language, part of the Uto-Aztecan languages group that lived in the Los Angeles basin for thousands of years. No significance whatsoever, just the fact that we're all natives anyways. Okay, so people, that's why I've always asked y'all, who else do you know who was proclaiming the every word of Yahweh the way the house of Yahweh is? The every word of Yahweh is the law and the prophets, and everything else that Yahweh has inspired to be written. Who else do you know that has surnamed himself with the name of Yisrael here in the U.S. or in any other country? Let me know. Who else do you know, two people who have proclaimed themselves to be the two witnesses? Please let me know. Who else do you know that teaches in the true and correct names of Yahweh, but does not say that Yahweh is God? They're only proclaiming that Yahweh is the Father and the Creator, but not God. Let me know. Who else do you know who has brought out to you the prophecies in the book of Daniel about the 7-year covenant? And according to him, he has a book published in the 70s or in the 80s that brought forth this covenant. But like I've told y'all, he did not give us names because he didn't know. Not even Daniel knew, so why would Mr. Hawkins know? But he did know there was a 7-year covenant to be made. Okay. Only through the house of Yahweh has the prophecies in Hosea been fulfilled, into us not mentioning the names of gods. El, Elohim, Jesus, God, Jehovah, Buddha, all these gods and goddesses we don't use at the house of Yahweh. Okay, that prophecy has only been fulfilled through the house of Yahweh. Okay, I even looked up the name of Donald Trump, our ex-president, and his name has kind of like, it's, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Let me look it up for you real quick. If y'all can read that backwards, y'all can pause it so you can read it. But the name Donald means, Donald is a boy's name of Scottish origin, meaning proud chief. The centuries-old name carries respect from the MacDonald clan of Scotland, one of the most ancient in the area. Isn't that crazy? It says Donald is a masculine given name derived from the Gaelic name Domhnall. This comes from the Proto-Celtic Domno Ualos, world ruler or world wielder. Isn't that crazy? I know a lot of people out there don't want him as president again as to why they're trying to incarcerate him now, but whatever our Father in heaven wills, right? Okay. So again, people, the message of the kingdom, or as a message, as a witness to the nations, is only brought forth through the two witnesses, bringing us Yahweh, restoring rather Yahweh's true and correct name, or our Father's true and correct name, our Messiah's true and correct name, restoring all the biblical names, pronunciations, restoring the true and correct doctrine, and other things that I probably still haven't come across. But I am not brainwashed because I still can make a choice to go the other way. When you're brainwashed, people, you cannot leave your so-called faith behind. Okay, that is the difference between me and somebody who might be brainwashed who's watching this video. And like I said, I'm not saying there is, but if that guy's still there saying, hey, you're brainwashed, bro, hey, that's on you guys. Okay, and that's on me if I am, but I know I'm not. Okay, because like I stated on and off, if I never end up going to the house of Yahweh, it is not because of what somebody said. It is because I actually went up there, spent a few days there, watched the whole thing go down, and if I like it, I stay, and if I don't like it, I come back out. And if I lose my crown per se, but Yahweh knows who will make it, because that is the only place, as far as I know, here on earth, in just this nation alone, because I've read the testimonies of other people, and I really don't think they were there long enough to study this much information. Okay, I have brought out to you a lot of things I have not yet read through the house of Yahweh, but they're in here because this is exactly what the house of Yahweh teaches, is nothing but scripture. Prophecy fulfilled. When people hear the message that these two witnesses are proclaiming, because they said that they will be, hated and persecuted and ridiculed, because like I've told y'all, I watched a video a few weeks back. The guy was saying that these two witnesses do not bring a message like you would hear everybody else saying. They would bring a message that would upset a lot of people or might even offend a lot of people. But because they are telling us the truth about these scriptural matters, the true and correct name of our Father, the true and correct name of our Messiah, the true and correct doctrine, hey, no laws were done away with. While the majority of today's churches and assemblies teach exactly that. When the Messiah actually said, do not even think that I have come to destroy the law of the prophets, I have come to establish them. But your church is telling you that, well, he said that at that moment in time, but then when he was sacrificed, that's why he said it is finished, because all that stuff was done away with. That is the lie they tell you. Believe me, people, I have seen my share of YouTube videos. I have read my share of booklets, and I'm like, but the wages for sin, the curse for sin is still active in the book of Romans, so obviously if we still sin, we're still going to die. Okay. there's no need, people, to further break this down. The saints are referred to as those who keep the commandments in the book of Revelation, the last book in the Bible. The saints are those who keep the commandments and those who keep the spiritual testimony, which is the spirit of prophecy with Yeshua. And they are partakers of the one true faith. That is what saints are called. Okay. But like I said, people, it's real easy to believe in something that sounds nice and soothing to your itching ears. Okay. My itching ears, per se, an example, my attorney calls me right now and says, Mr. De Leon, you're going to get $5 million just to you. I'm saying that to itch, to scratch my ears, but I know I'm not going to get that much. Okay. I have a figure more or less of what I'm going to get, and any figure at this moment is better than no figure at all. Okay. But anyways, so yes, people, the message is being brought forth only through the mouth of the one witness, which in this case has passed away or is asleep in the earth. Only the two witnesses can minister for the Father, for Yahweh. He is that one prophet, or was that one prophet, like Eliah was with those other 400, or with those 450 prophets of Baal or the Lord. Everybody else is teaching lies, and only this one little guy was teaching you the truth. That is why he's hated. What did the Messiah do to get persecuted? He taught people the truth. He says, I have told you the truth, but you do not believe me. Let somebody else come in his own name. Him you will follow to obey. And that is what we see today. Prophecy fulfilled. You have all these clowns coming out, like Joel Osteen, not Olstein. You have Kenneth. Oh, man, I was watching another videos. Kenneth Copeland. Jim Jones, Tom Jones, or not Tom Jones, but, Herbert Armstrong, Ellen G. White. You have all of these so-called prophets teaching you different kinds of doctrines, telling you they are the true church, while all their doctrines might contradict each other's. It doesn't make any sense. You can't make, I can make heads and tails out of it, because I'll sit there and dissect the book, which I have done before. I have literally sat there with a few booklets when I was locked up in the feds and broken down everything for me. I have broken down their wording, which has or might contradict the scriptures. As a matter of fact, I ordered a booklet. I don't think it's the one I was looking for, but there's a booklet from the late Mr. Armstrong through the Philadelphia Church of God where they misquoted scripture. They quoted it one way on one page, but further on, they took out one or two words out of that same scripture. What does that tell you? Lies, people. They're teaching you lies. They're using the scriptures or misusing the scriptures to fit their doctrine. Okay, but at least here, if y'all were to look at the material, they have printed in their Greek interlinears, Hebrew interlinears, Hebrew and Greek word breakdown and definitions, publishers, authors, page numbers, year of the publish. They give you all the work as to where they get their information from. Who else do you know does that? Not probably anybody. Okay, so again, only these two witnesses can bring forth this message in Matthew 24:14. Because if everybody else is teaching you that the laws were done away with, then they're going against that message. They're teaching you a false message. Okay. Is this thing still on? All right. So again, to give y'all cross-references here, you can cross-reference Matthew 24:14, which talks about the message of the kingdom. What did we also read in Matthew 6:33? I know I was thinking about that one before I started making the video. In Matthew 6:33, we read, "But seek you first the kingdom of Yahweh and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." A lot of people still don't know what righteousness is. The righteousness of Yahweh is that if we choose to keep his laws as he has commanded us, and that is clearly written in Deuteronomy 6:25. Okay. That is what the word righteousness means defined in the scriptures. Okay, so Matthew 24:14, the message of the kingdom, message, remember, I'm going to put it again. Message, glad tidings, good news, gospel, and one more, the word, all mean the same thing. Okay, I really hope y'all catch on now. Okay, Matthew 24:14 with Romans 1:16, for I am not ashamed of the message. Okay, also on here for message, glad tidings, good news, gospel, the word, the strength of Yahweh, and okay, that's it for now. And also word of truth in Timothy. Okay, so from Romans 1:16 to Matthew 24:14 to Malachi 4:5 to Isaiah 8:20. I know I gave you more. Okay. To Matthew 5:17, Matthew 5:17 and 18. And also in, I almost got a whole hour on here. Also in, I know there's at least 3 more up here in the New Testament. Notice in 2 Corinthians 4, verse 3 and 4. But if our message is hidden, it is hidden to those who are lost. Lost in all kinds of doctrines and messages and glad tidings and good newses and all that stuff. For the God of this world has blinded the minds of those who do not believe. Who are those that don't believe? If you don't believe in the spirit of prophecy message through Yeshua, and if you don't believe in the prophecies, or if you don't believe Moshe, right, like Yeshua said, then you are lost. What did we read in Psalm 119 verses 142 and 151? That the laws and the commandments are truth. They give light to our path. Okay, only the law and the prophets, people, can give you that light, nothing else. Okay, that is why the Messiah said, I am the light. Okay, because he had the laws and the prophets with him. So they do not believe, so that the light of the message of the glory of the Messiah, who is the image of Yahweh, should not shine unto them. Okay. So like I said in a couple of videos, a lot of people have accepted a Jewish teacher without the Jewish teachings. Okay. All right. There's another one here. In Galatians chapter 1, 6 through 14. Talks about the message on how the Apostle Shaul here was actually called out and revealed to it. Okay. See, I can tell you what the word is, the law and the prophets, but you still have to be revealed to it. Okay. Kind of like the Matrix. What did Morpheus tell Neo? He's explaining to him, but then he says, but unfortunately, nobody can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. You have to be revealed to it. So you can relate that to Galatians chapter 1, 6 through 14. And then there is another one here in, I know there's a bunch of them, but these are the ones I've already had highlighted and can actually remember off the back of my hand or at the back of my head, whatever. And there's another one in, let's see, in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 3 through 5. Okay, that's pretty much about it. as far as the message goes. And only the two witnesses can bring you forth this message of the kingdom of Yahweh, not of God. They're not the same thing. We are in the kingdom of God right now because God is, Satan is the ruler of this earth. Remember what I told you about when Yeshua was fasting and how that it was Satan, the God of this world, who actually offered her kingdoms to Yeshua. If you would but just serve me, I would give you all these kingdoms. Obviously, they were hers, right? Or they are hers. So we have the statue of Satan or Liberty over there in New York. 7 horns, or 7 horns, 7 continents. Hello. Horns are kingdoms or whatever you want to call them. Same difference. Okay. So again, people, that is who and that is what the message of the kingdom is all about. Who brings it out and why only them? Because Yahweh has proclaimed it to be like this. Okay. Again, if you are part of that commission and teaching people that well, we don't have to use those names no more. Nobody really uses them. We're just using God and Jesus. You're not part of this calling out. You're not part of this commission that Yahweh has given his people. If you are that preacher or a self-proclaimed prophet teaching others that these laws and prophecies are not for us and they've been done away with or nailed to a cross, you are not part of this calling out. You are not part of Yahweh's commission. It is obvious when people make those kind of statements, they themselves don't understand the prophecies. That's just plain and simple. I mean, I can't bring out to you something that I haven't studied for myself and have not been revealed to. So I'm not even going to make an attempt to even lie to you. If I make a comment, I tell you, it might be this, but don't quote me on it. Okay. So yes, only the house of Yahweh has restored the true and correct name of our Father, the true and correct name of our Messiah, has brought back the teachings, the true and correct teachings of the law and the prophecies given through Moshe, to Yeshua, through the prophets, and to these last 2 proclaimed witnesses, who are actually mentioned by name in the book of Isaiah. But since we have these modern day ever popular translations, you can't see a lot of that stuff. You can't see a lot of the scriptural definitions in there. Okay. Like I said, this is the only one, as far as I know, that I have read, which holds the same grammar, context, whatever else words might we use for proper grammar, I guess. But this book here holds it from Genesis all the way to Revelation, only using Yahweh's name from beginning to end, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so I hope this helps. Like I said, I was thinking about Matthew 24:14 yesterday while I was walking and trying to bring out to you who it is that proclaims this message of the kingdom of Yahweh. Okay, so I leave you with this one, people, and I'll see what I can cover next. Like I said in my last few videos before like I said, we were having this family ordeal here at home. We had, let me finish. I was going to bring out to you more videos on the pre-existence of the Messiah. But anyways, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can post a video on here at the very end, so y'all can see my nephew where he was literally yanked out of his seat. My nephew, he's like 10. He's like 3 feet tall, if that. He's a little scrawny dude. He came out to be just like his dad. I'm 6 foot tall, people, and I'm a big burly guy. I got my shoulders, my back, and my chest, and my gut, but I'm 6 foot tall. I'm a big guy. Imagine if I picked on one of your kids, or on a midget per se. That's not cool at all. I mean, you'll see it in the video. But ever since that came out, how long has it been now? 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Here's how it went down. The bully in the video supposedly told the girl who recorded the whole incident was that he wanted to start something that Monday, and she told him, this is just the way I heard it. She told him, well, to go pick on him. You see, my nephew, he's there minding his own business, eating his breakfast, and here comes this kid, says something to him, and then yanks him out of his seat, and he starts wailing on him. And you can hear a kid in the back saying, "Choke him." You'll see it. This is from the Ken's 5 newsroom in San Antonio here in Texas. And so I mean, my sister lit a fire that the school can't put out now. The way it went down was, well, here's not necessarily a chain of events, but these are the fires that had been lit. The whole school is under investigation because now they're trying to find out that whenever they fire or whenever they lay off or get rid of an employee, they're not being replaced. So what are they doing with the extra budget money? I'm sure y'all might have some similar incidences in your schools. The little girl's in trouble because she displayed 3 minors without the consent of an adult, and that is illegal. She can be expelled from school. The little girl that was next to her, she's a minor. The bully is a minor, and my nephew is a minor. So that's 3 counts on her right there, if you ask me. Where was the staff? Where was the security guard? A police officer was over here doing this. Okay. The lunch lady, cafeteria lady, had to leave her post to stop the fight. Okay. The reason the school doesn't want to release the video of, I guess they can see the whole cafeteria, was because they know they're going to be in the wrong. Okay. And I'm not trying to sound like a butthead, but if whoever gets fired from that school probably deserves it anyways because they were not doing their jobs. Now, since my mom works there, she can see that now the principal and vice principal are in the cafeteria now. They got more security. They're not on their phones. Oh, now they want to take care of business. But yeah, I mean, it's a big fire right now. And then just about 2 weeks ago, we were outside talking to my brother-in-law and my sister. You know how kids are, and I'm not saying it to justify their supposed intent, but they told, like 16 kids told my brother-in-law and or my sister that they were going to jump that kid. And my mom was telling me just Sunday or Saturday, we were outside talking to one of my sister's friends, that one of the kids went up to my mom and told her. My mom was like, "No, mijo, don't do that. I mean, yeah, people, you can't take care of problems retaliating like that, you know, beating up the other kid. But like I told my brother and my sister, those are things we can't take care of because we're not there at the school." But supposedly when these kids made a video that they were going to shoot up that kid or beat him up or shoot up the school, the people at the school said it was incredible. I'm like, here's the deal, people. If we even joke around, like in the movie In the Line of Fire, you know, with John Malkovich and Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood, if y'all haven't seen it, he's a DEA. He's a CIA Secret Service agent, you know, the ones that run along the president's limo. And John Malkovich calls him and he tells him that he's going to kill the president. And Clint Eastwood tells him, because, you know, we can still incarcerate you or put you in jail even if you're just joking around. So you're telling me that these kids threatened to shoot up the school and nothing was done. That's crazy, people. That's some crazy stuff right there, but I don't know. So yeah, like I said, the school is, what do they call it? It's under scrutiny, and I don't know. I can just sit back and watch, but you bet your silver dollar I'm gonna back up my little nephew as far as the law is willing to take those charges seriously. Okay. But like I told my sister, my brother-in-law, my mom, and some friends that I've been talking to who have been texting me about the incident, I'm like, I said, getting more staff, or rather getting more security, is not going to change the morale. It's not going to teach, rather, because there is none there anyways, right? It is not necessarily up to the school's job to teach your kids any morale because they're not supposed to be doing that to begin with. It is the parents' responsibility. You are responsible, people, for your kids' actions in school, especially if they're minors. You have to answer for your kids. Okay. I know that if I had kids in these schools and something like that happened to, you know, somebody bully my kids, you bet your ass I'm going to press charges as far as I can, because you're not going to be bullying my kids. I'm trying to raise my kids properly at home through the word. to have somebody come and just say, oh, I don't like you, and bam. Oh, no, 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 no. I will press charges. I will. Because, yes, it's easy for me to say, I forgive your kid, so he's just going to keep on doing it. So we have to make an example out of the kids, people. And I will make an example out of people. Believe me, I will. Okay. But anyways, as y'all saw in that last video, I was really, truly upset. I've calmed down a lot. You know, it broke my heart because, like I told you, I myself was bullied in school by, you know, bullies. And I'm learning, and I'm already getting rid of that anger and upsetness, and that, you know, it hurt. It broke my heart to see my nephew like that, you know. But that was, I don't want to say that was the true me in that last video, but I mean, it was a little bit hard. It still is hard for me, you know, to sit down and talk to people and say, hey, we can't let these things be going on in our schools, you know. I mean, we're paying, well, maybe not me right now, right? But people are working hard to pay their tax dollars for the schools and for the security, and they're not even doing their job. Okay. You know, we've become, we are now in a generation where we have to learn to accept and realize that this same young generation is going to be running our country. Man, that's crazy. But anyways, all right. So people, like I said, y'all watch the video. I'm going to put it on here, and y'all can comment and just keep them respectful. Okay. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna screen record the comments here. There was a guy in California saying, well, how do we know your nephew didn't provoke the fight? I'm like, really, dude? You're in California, you want to make those kind of comments? He said something like, well, there's no evidence that he didn't provoke the fight. I'm like, you see the stupidity of people nowadays? I had to go over there, find this guy, and literally just go slap the guy in the head. You know what I mean? It's stupid. How you make stupid comments like that? It's real easy, right, when you're about 4 or 5 states away. But anyways, so check it out, people. Y'all watch the video, and like I said, you want to comment on it, on this video, and on the video of my nephew, feel free. But like I said, please keep them respectful, because I will put you on blast on my video. Okay, so until the next one, y'all have a great day. I will see you on the next video. Cheerio.
The attack happened at a middle school in Carrizo Springs, about 116 miles southwest of San Antonio. Tonight, KENS 5 reporter Mattithyah spoke with the victim's mother, who shares her hope for change. And Hannah, this is a very disturbing case. What's the district saying tonight?
Well, UC's Carrizo Springs ICSD went through the board and legal counsel before releasing a statement about an hour ago. In that statement, we're told the district is investigating and they will act according to district policy, state, and local laws. Now, I want to warn you, some of the video we're about to show you may be hard to watch.
It was horrifying. I cried so much.
Jessica Garcia is distraught. Her 11-year-old son is afraid. It started Monday when she says she was called to Carrizo Springs Intermediate School.
And they just told me that there was a fight.
That night, she watched it on video after she says a student posted the assault on TikTok. You can see Garcia's son in the red shirt eating breakfast when another student approaches him.
I'm not recording you.
It's unclear what's said, but the next moment the student lifts Garcia's son out of his seat, throws him, and begins punching him repeatedly. We counted 15 hits, while at least one other student eggs him on. In the video, an adult who looks to be a cafeteria worker eventually rushes over and flags down help.
There was no faculty. There were no teachers. Nobody was around them. The lunch lady had to leave her post to go stop the fight.
In a statement tonight, the district said an administrator, officer, and 3 teachers were supervising the cafeteria when the incident happened. Garcia says her son suffered a concussion and sprained wrist. According to the district's website, bullying and fighting are prohibited. So is releasing video of a minor. These behaviors can result in removal from class, in-school suspension, or out-of-school suspension. Aggravated assault can lead to expulsion.
I expect for them to punish these kids, and I expect for the safety for the children at the school to be way better than what it is.
Carrizo Springs ICSD tells us disciplinary action, if any is taken, will not be released to the public. Now, Garcia tells us her son has not been back to school since that incident, and depending on what comes of the investigation, she says she's prepared to seek other schooling opportunities. Reporting live, Mattithyah, KENS 5.
Thank you, Hannah. Such a disturbing story there. Now at 10.